Welcome to the fourth episode of OneLife podcast. We've got our four gentlemen here. Our topics today are a recession, a technical recession, a business leadership. How does that all fall into OneLife? What does it all mean? Life is supposedly harder this year, maybe next year. So what is a technical recession?
Naughty R word, eh? Everyone thinks about it. Yeah. I mean, recession is basically a drop in GDP for a country, right? GDP meaning gross domestic product. So if you think of GDP, it's sort of like the revenue of a business for a country, right? If the revenue drops, generally it's not a really great business. Okay, so with the technical recession, it's sort of like a shorter recession, meaning there's a drop in GDP for the last 2 quarters of the year. So New Zealand experienced 0.1 drop and a 0.7 drop in the last 2 quarters, 2 times in a row. If there's a third one, meaning it's going to go down a pretty darker path. Okay, so whereas a recession is probably a longer duration, a bit longer, and then if it's a depression, it's a sort of extended recession. So, for example, US had a Great Depression back in the 1930s that lasted about 10 years.
Are we going down that track?
Well,
Don't know.
That's a great explanation, by the way.
Yeah, that's really good. I'd like to touch on something just real quickly, but I did some research, and in the last year to March, we actually had positive GDP for the whole year. Yes. So, it was 2.9% to the year ended in March, so it's only the last 2 quarters that we've actually dipped that's caused it to go
when you
recession.
tunnel vision like that and look at a short term,
recession.
it freaks people out, instills fear in people. And the last technical recession that we had was during COVID, right? 2020. So we had a pretty good run.
Was that 2 periods?
Yeah, or a bit more. Yeah, there was a big drop because of the whole COVID outbreak.
Yep.
Then it rebounded pretty strongly. Property went up, everyone's happy, interest rates dropped.
Yeah, look, for me, I'm always going to be glass half full guy, so I'm always looking at the positives around this. And, we had the cyclones, that came through, so all of these things happened at this time, which may have led to us going into recession, So I'm more positive about the future, and where it's headed.
Yeah, so talk to me about, I like that mindset, a glass half full. And if I always have this thought of, and I don't have I'll ask you a question. So if you're glass half full and everybody else in business was glass half full, or in the country, would we be able to not be in a recession?
I think so. I think it's a mindset of a nation, and we can talk ourselves into a recession.
So we're talking ourselves at a consumer spend, which is part of the problem.
Totally.
Well, remember the whole bloody thing has been orchestrated, right? You don't just end up in a recession.
Explain orchestrated for the...
Well, the Reserve Bank and the politicians, you can't just have inflation going forever, right? That's the topic of the last year, inflation, and COVID spending and handouts has obviously ramped up inflation. And we got to a point where inflation was too high. So the only thing they could do to pull it back was to head us towards a recession and, in fact, keep heading us that way and then make it a recession so it kind of gets back to normality. And then everyone's freaking out because we're in a technical recession. But
this is what the Reserve Bank governor wanted.
Exactly.
So he wanted. So he's got what he wanted. We're in a recession. It is a technical recession. And will it last? Time will tell. But this is what he wanted. So I think in that regard, it's a good thing. Are people stopping spending? I think they sort of have to, in this environment, and they are. But yeah, it's great. I think
he's had his KPIs.
Well, he gets his bonus.
And did he say what the outcome was? Like, what was the purpose of the recession, or the reason he was orchestrating it?
There's consumer spending, right?
Yeah,
it's just inflation, just rampant inflation.
Yeah, but so for the people that don't get it, like you're saying, consumer spending. What is it? What do you mean? Like he wanted people to spend less, more?
Well, if you give people free money, you're going to spend it.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm talking about. They had free money. Interest rates were so low, so everyone was spending money on cars and houses.
Spending money that they don't have.
Exactly.
I was in 277 last weekend, and I was shocked of how many people were there spending money still. Are they spending money that they don't have? I don't know. But, because of this technical recession now, the spending has reduced, so that's good.
Yeah, and naturally it will reduce and have reduced because people are looking forward and a little bit more fearful, right?
Yep.
And they haven't really done their numbers, so they don't do their numbers and they're a bit fearful. Of course they're going to slow down their spending.
Okay, so we're in technical recession my early advice, well, at this point, the best piece of thing people could do is go and actually learn what a recession or a technical recession and a depression mean, because they're three different things. Because people don't know. And then it's like they read the paper and it's like, oh shit, we're in a recession.
It's a GFC.
It's like,
What does
do you
it
actually know what it
mean?
means?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't. And
It's an
that's not a good
education.
or a bad thing. I think people should just take the time out to understand that. And
I think it is
that
a
would-
bad thing if you don't understand what it means, because it's in every headline and has been
Yeah,
for
but
ages.
it's a scary thing, because it's like a smart person's topic, or perceived that way. So it actually does. It's just like shares, right? Shares is a smart person's investment. It's bullshit. Like everybody should be able to do that.
Yep.
It's actually not that hard. That's another topic, but I just think people should go and learn, because it's not that hard to learn, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I remember when I first found out what a recession meant, because there's a technicality behind it, which you explained. I remember when I first learnt about it, I don't know, let's just say 10 years ago, and I was like, is that it? Is that all it means?
Yeah. That few percent drop in your GDP.
It's kind of the same thing as, is that it when you're investing in shares, and is that it when you're buying property for investment? It's actually not that
So I
hard.
think what you're getting at is it's an education.
Yeah. Like, I don't know,
You just need to,
right? Go and learn what it means
yeah,
before we get into this.
and you just need to build your knowledge, right?
Yeah.
So we've talked
So then
about
how do
what
you
is
solve
a
it?
technical recession. We've talked about how we got here. So how do we? I don't think we can solve it because it's been orchestrated. But how do we? What are business owners to do now to keep going forward inside a recession? We're in a recession.
Well, I like to see recession sort of like a filtering process, right? You look at these big companies, and they've been around for the last 100+ years. They've been through how many recessions? 2, 3, 4, even more. It's the good ones, and it really shows true entrepreneurship in these long times and stressful times as well. And it's basically filtering to see who can weather out the storm for a recession.
What do they need to do to weather the storm?
I come back to, I think you, Alistair, said in that first episode, is plan, right? That was a good soundbite for sure. But I think in these times, for me, there's probably three people that our business customers need to be speaking with. One, their accountant. Two, I think their banks, if they need any funding to get through. And three, if they are in trouble, to have the comms with the IRD and be upfront with the IRD as well. So I think those three in particular are the people that they need to
especially with the IRD
speaking
part.
with.
Not paying taxes as well really cripples a lot of businesses out there.
So that's good. That's kind of all on the planning side, right? So then you go to your accountant, and I mean, every accountant's going to give you a different thing, but my top two probably would be customer retention. So you need to work hard and keep your customers you already have. Stop going looking for the new ones. Just focus on the ones you have and work really hard to keep them or re-engage with them. And the second one is the people that are already working for you. Look after them. Staff retention, right? So you can go and talk about acquisition of new people, and like that just takes time out of your business. Same with new customers, right? Time out of your business. So those are my top two at the moment.
I totally agree. It's like keeping your house in order.
Yeah.
What you have now, just keeping that in order.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
I
with
see a
that.
lot of people put their head in the sand and it's just going to go away.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
It's all about keeping that communication up. It really is. You can't put your head in the sand, as you say. You've got to be open and be vulnerable. And
well, as a
and
business
have
owner,
those
you sort of
comms.
have that responsibility as a leader, right? To lead the pack. You can't just say, "Oh, look, shit, there's a problem. I'm gonna put my head in the sand. Hope it goes away. Good luck, my team."
That's a good point. Like that's probably everything you say is gold. Sometimes. You said the other day. Actually, I really resonate with that one. The leaders need to step up because if you don't know where you're going, then your people don't know where you're going, and your business, like you just don't have any direction.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, these people have PAYE jobs just to feed the family, right?
yeah,
And if you're being irresponsible with your leadership and not guiding them the right way in the recession, are you being a true leader? Are you living up to the standards?
yeah,
I think the other being vulnerable in leadership and all of that, just even for business owners, they can't forget about home life. You actually have to have a chat to your husband or your wife or your girlfriend or your partner. If you all live together, you got family and whatnot. You actually have to have a conversation at home and say, okay, we're in technical recession. What do you think that means? This is what I think it means. What do you think that means for us as a family? Are we gonna hold back on some stuff? Are we actually are there opportunities out there actually as for us as a family? Could we do something different?
You almost got to keep your house in order before you can help others.
That's right. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I think that's a really hard conversation to have at home too. So if I was going to do that, and one, obviously educate yourself. Like actually, both of you understand that what a recession is before you go and talk about it over dinner. But bring in the independence, like you said, like bring in your accountant, bring in the people that can help you navigate it, and try not to have that conversation without that person. Because shit, I don't want to sit at home and talk to my wife about a recession over dinner, and when not even there's no like independence. It doesn't.
Yeah.
I think it's dangerous.
Yeah, but I think we touched on it on the last episode around the household budget as well. So, you know, in a recession, people are trying to look at what they're spending their money on, all of that. So it comes back down to that household budget again, you know, which becomes really important.
But they're hard conversations. I think that's the point, right? As being vulnerable, they're hard conversations to have, and so they're never going to be easy.
Well, when
conversations.
everything's all good, you don't really need to have the conversation. And I think people have fallen out of not having the conversation over the last 5 years. Everyone's just talking about COVID and how hard that was. Well, it's gone now.
Funny you say that though, because when it's good, no one has the conversation,
That's
and that's
right.
when you should probably conversate more because it's good. And like I got clients now going, shit, interest rates are 7%, and my mortgage is like it's coming off, and it's going to cost me extra 40 grand. And I'm like, just it's all good. Like you don't have to pay off your debt in the next 2 years. Like don't just pay the interest. Like you'll come out the other side, the interest rates will be back down at 5%, but that's when you start to behave. Don't go buy a new car. Don't go upgrading your house. Because that's what you did last time when it was 3%. Everyone did it.
But that's what I mean.
Spent all their money, right?
Yeah, that's excellent advice coming from you, the accountant, you know.
Thanks, mate.
No, but that's what I mean. We said you need to talk to your accountant. And that's great advice to our customers about, because people do freak out because it is in the press and it's in the media and all of that. But I suppose we're just a calming force, aren't we?
We can be, but we're also, like you said, we're glass half full, so we're naturally optimistic, right? And so we don't see problems where some people see problems because we have the solutions, apparently, not for everything. But we can see a lot of examples during a day, week, month of so many different businesses and different people and different problems. So I think there's a lot of people that are our customers, our clients, and in the market who are kind of first-time recessioners. They haven't been through it before. And the only one I have been through was right at the start of my career and couldn't even get an internship, right? And then to now, and it's like, what are people doing if they don't even know what happens in a recession?
Yeah, that's a really good point because, most of our customers are business owners, obviously, right? But the people that are in paid employment, once unemployment starts to kick in and there's talk of that coming as well, then that's really going to start to stress people out.
Yeah, and that is quite scary because they don't have control over their employment, right? It's not like business owners, we can create a role or create another business, create another stream of revenue. It forces people to change.
Yeah.
And what about those that don't want to change? Yeah.
There's help out there, right? Like if you can't afford it, even small business, right? There's funding available from the government that will help subsidize the cost of having some independence so you can have that dinner conversation and actually push your business forward. And we're talking about, like, I'm a growth person, right? So it's always about growth, but I'm not talking about like crazy growth, and just sustainable growth right now is probably sensible. And don't make any crazy decisions. Like obviously there's deals out there, but if you're not experienced in the deals, don't be doing any deals, you know?
Yeah, but talk about crazy growth, right? After a recession, you don't really hear about those people that say, hey, I'm going to 10x your business. It's always those consistent, organic, the stable entrepreneurs that really last through these times, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Those people that get say, hey, I'm going to 10x your business in 2 years. Who's that? Don't remember the name anymore.
Yeah. There's some of those people getting found out, right? Those first timers are getting found
Well,
out.
that's what I say. Recession sort of shows that are you a true entrepreneur or are you just lucky? Right.
Yeah.
The lucky ones will get filtered throughout the storm, and then it's the good ones that really shows in their leadership and strength as a business owner.
But just keep that communication up, really, with all of your, your accountant or your peers or your advisors that you're talking to, just keeping those comms up with all of those parties and, we can get through it.
Yeah, and comms and are really important. And the comment you made about luck, I always say that luck is just timing and preparation meeting, right? And we talk about planning and we're in a recession. If you communicate with your banker and your accountant, say, and you're just communicating, and then they tell you about a product, say, I don't know, revolving credit or a $50,000 overdraft, bank overdraft, and you never knew about that. Are you lucky that that person had that conversation? No, it was you preparing to have the conversation, and then the timing was just right that you spoke to that person and they maybe talked about a business overdraft that day and that just clicked, and then timing and preparation came together.
Yeah.
Now you're lucky? Like, well,
Yeah, and that's kind of something I've been teaching, and I've been telling clients from way back in the day. If you're setting up a new business, as soon as you can, get an overdraft. Like, don't use it. You just need to have it there for days like
As a
that.
safety net.
Yeah, like it's the same thing when you buy property investment, right? You buy a house, and I've made the mistake before, and that's why I'm probably saying this, is you don't have enough working capital. It's the same thing when you buy property and interest rates go up and you can't afford it, and then you have to flog the house. But if in the business, same thing. If you know, like rising costs, you got wages going up, you need to just factor in some working capital, and it might be bank debt, but you can't now go and ask for the bank for an overdraft. They're going to go no.
Yeah.
But if you had it 3 years ago and you never touched it, then you already had it.
yeah.
Like, you know, so you just
That's what
got
I'm
to
saying.
play
There's all
your
these
cards
first
a bit.
timers out there that haven't done anything for the last 5 years because everything's been rosy and it's all good. They don't know that things exist.
Yeah.
Like, you should actually, as a business owner, have 5 bank accounts, $50,000 overdraft. You should have a credit card with a $20,000 limit. You should have all these things. You should have trade finance facility.
Yes.
You don't have to use it, but at least get it on over the line.
No, I think
and learn.
the problem with, and I worry, and I don't tell, you don't tell this to everyone, because if you give that to some people, they just don't know how to behave with money, and then they go and blow it all, and then you're having a different conversation.
Yeah. Well, I see a lot of these habits stems from a personal life as well.
Yeah.
Same with your mortgages. You don't just have $0 in your bank account. You should have a life-saving emergency funds that's
Yeah.
maybe can weather 6 months of no income, right? Yeah.
So I don't know how people sleep at night without that. Like,
Oh, yeah, but people just need to create good habits. You know, they're so used to doing that for their lives that they need to create those habits so that they're just doing it and it becomes second nature.
I think it's one life, right? We're here to preach one life. And whatever you do good in your personal life, you should be applying it to business. And whatever good stuff you do in your business, you should be applying it personally.
Yep.
Amen.
And sharing it and communicating it and tell everybody about it.
yeah, definitely. You gotta share your knowledge, right? Like, there's no point in hoarding it. I remember someone told me that this. It was one of our employees. I was gonna be careful what I say now. It's like this big. It was just like this. It's not about an employee. It's like this big property secret, right? She goes to me, "Oh, I don't know how to do property, blah blah." Like, like when I used to work at so and so place, they made it look and so hard. They just hoarded all this information about investing in property, and I'm like, it's not that hard. Like, why do you think it's hard? And then she went on to say, so it's just like they've just created this thing at the top end of town in the accounting world, and it's like, you've got to be a certain person to buy property. I think it's rubbish. Like, you don't need to. You just need to follow simple steps and you can buy property.
Yeah.
I don't know. I lost my train of thought because I was worried about what I was about to say.
I think your point was that people think things like buying property or buying shares are for rich, smart people. And it's not. It's for everybody.
Actually,
everybody can do it.
It was the mindset of that person hoarding that information with these people wanting to be a sponge. And it's like, teach them. Like, why are you holding it? Like,
Yeah, that rich man was once poor, right?
yeah.
People forget that.
Yeah.
And how do they learn through all these things? And there's so much knowledge out there as well, and people to help you.
But what other things can the businesses do that we sort of act for, or other businesses out there that we can assist with during a recession, do you think?
I think I want to touch on the positive side. So I've got clients who generally sort of 80% of my clients are well balanced, like doing well, right? Some of them, the boring businesses, as you call it, some of them in sexy businesses, but they're doing well. They've got good capital funding lines and all this sorts of stuff. They're doing everything right and always have done. There are opportunities for these people in this market. Those people should be thinking differently and going and looking at opportunities, because there's more millionaires made in a recession than any other time ever.
Now's the time.
Now's the time for those people who are
100%.
well equipped to go and evaluate, do some research, do some development, figure out what opportunities can we tack on right now to our current business, or what other business could we buy that could be a sister company to our business. What could we import? What could we export? Like things you've never done before, if you're well equipped.
What does well equipped mean?
Enough money, enough cash flow, right people,
Yes.
right brand, right
That's
marketing.
always the hardest
ducks
part,
in a row.
right? Yeah. Say you want to buy a rental property right now, it's 35% deposit. $1 million house is $350K. Who has $350K lying around? Right?
But you might have 350K of equity in another property that
Correct.
maybe it's time for you to double down.
Yeah, like in a recession, right? All these good investments per se, is just basically on a discount, right?
Wow,
If you
yeah.
ride through the
Major
storm, that or bad investment during a recession time was going to be a bloody good one in the next few years.
Yeah.
And the conversation, I just can't wait for the conversations in say 6 or 12 or 18, 24 months, whatever it is. And people go kick themselves and I should have done that deal. Should have listened to you. Should have planned better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. It always does.
I was having a coffee catch up with this mortgage broker yesterday. He told me one of his clients just signed a deal today to buy a house in Flatbush. CV was 1.4 million, I think 1.5. Bought it for $800,000
Wow.
because the bank basically did a foreclosure
Yeah.
on that person.
Right. Yeah, there's opportunities out
insane.
there.
Yeah, so that's a $400,000 saving, even though the interest rate is up at 2% or 3% higher. Even if you go to a specialist lender, who cares? It's 10%, right?
Yeah.
You're still, in 2 years' time, that rate's going to drop. You're still going to make money.
Oh, as I said to you the other day, you're making those gains on the purchase, right? If we're talking
Yeah,
about
100%.
property right now, that's the massive gains.
The
that
key
you
to
make.
that, so there's the capital side, right? It's less capital and more debt. It's the cash flow that
correct.
stops people from doing this. That's why I talk about the overdraft, right? If you had it and it will say, let's say the whole was 50 grand for the next 12 months, you could burn that 50.
Yeah. Because you made a
cash
wise investment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct.
So it's like so in 2 years' time, when things come right, we should be hitting up all of our clients and go, everybody go get a bank overdraft and just have it sit there.
Yeah.
But
But that's where it's really important for people to understand the difference between income and wealth or assets, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's some people can get into dangerous territory because they don't understand the difference, and then they go and spend that money on daily operating stuff.
Yeah, no.
Like we
Yeah, no.
don't want that.
No.
That should be there. That when opportunities come now,
Yeah.
you could say take that 50 and go and deploy it into a revenue generating asset or a purchase.
But also investing in marketing. Josh will love this, but investing in marketing and innovation at this time, I think those two things are key during a recession.
Guess what everyone's doing though?
Turning off marketing.
Yeah, they're turning it
I don't-
off.
Ridiculous.
I don't
know.
understand that.
Yeah.
It's like, I do actually. So you probably, I read an article in America, right? So if you got like this, you got big companies double downing on their marketing because the other companies are turning it off.
Yes.
They're getting the massive market share right now
Oh,
because
totally.
they're going hardcore,
Yeah.
picking up all of the
That's a good
customers,
strategy.
Like no brainer. Like people are
exactly.
stopping, so we go harder.
Yeah, and look, it does come back down to cash flow. It really does. But like, if you can afford to, even marketing doesn't need to cost a lot of money, right?
No.
So as long as you're doing some marketing during these times, the better times will come, and the fruits of your
Front of mind.
labour and putting your money into some of that marketing will
And just
come.
keeping yourself front of mind of your consumers, right?
Yeah.
So during a good time, they'll say, okay, that person I saw 2 years ago, I'm going to buy their services or goods.
That's a good one. I like that. Yeah, that's good advice, mate.
Oh, thanks,
You
mate.
have to. I mean, it comes down to the leadership of the business. I think if the leader of the business or the leaders of the business are not, if they want to retract from spending because they're being told from the New Zealand Herald to retract their spending, then in my view, that's probably poor leadership. So how does someone be an effective leader when everyone else out there in the media is telling you, batten down the hatches?
Yeah, I think there's different types of spending. So like creating efficiencies within your businesses and doing things smarter also helps. You're going to save some money in that regard. But spending money, as I've said, in marketing to give you a better chance in the future is the way to go for me.
Yeah, I think it goes back to planning, right? Or your plan thing, right? If you don't have a budget, you actually don't know. So your personal budget and the business budget, and you just need to be able to know, at least have a position where you can play around in the spreadsheet and go, take that out, or shit, I'm going to pay that debt off and then I'm going to have this cash available.
Oh, I agree.
Reinvest it into marketing. Or if we change this thing and this
Scenario testing.
Yeah.
You
just
really
need that.
scenario test.
And it depends how far you plan to, right? You can't just
Correct.
plan for 3 months.
No.
If you have a tunnel vision, it's like, shit, spending marketing now is not going to give me revenue in 3 months.
Yeah.
Let's not do it.
Yeah.
But you think of 3 years, the forecast
Yeah.
are 3-5 years.
Yes.
That's
It
where
will
people
make
get,
sense.
even good leaders sometimes get it wrong, and they'll do an annual budget and they'll go, we'll take out that marketing.
Yeah.
But if you just had a 2-3 year budget and say your dollar spend took you twice as far this year, but your dollar spend is not going to take you that far next year, well, it makes more sense to spend it all now, not next year. So you could spend it this year, not next year, theoretically. I mean,
It's funny. So on your marketing point, so when I do the budgets, I always look
I've
at.
come around though. I never used to be this guy.
That's a good point.
couldn't even spell marketing.
Vulnerable. I always look at total sales and marketing spend
Yep.
Fuck, it's well below where it should be for many businesses.
What do you think the percentage should be based
that's
on revenue?
Good question.
Well, I would at least 6%, like
Okay.
at a minimum. Like, and I think that's just organic.
Yep.
You reinvest 6 cents of your dollar that you make back into marketing.
So if you're $1 million revenue business, you spend 60K.
60K, like that's bugger
Sounds
all
fair,
money, right? I would probably go pushing it to 8, 12 up in that vicinity if you really want growth. You got to do it sensibly, right? And you got to have proved the reason or prove the areas you want to invest in, right? So like if it's online growth, do that. If you're I don't know, want to push retail stores or something, or like open another, you just got to, what are you trying to do? Like get new customers or look after your existing?
Yeah. Oh, there's a lot of testing involved.
Yeah.
Yeah, it depends on the type of business as well. Some spend on ad campaigns, some spend on brand awareness. We wouldn't do too much ad campaigns.
Now's a good time actually to try some shit, right? Because your dollar's
That's
going to
what
go
I
further
said,
because people aren't spending. So like SEO, for example, theoretically now is your hit rate's probably going to go up because not as many people spending on SEO.
Yeah, there's no one on.
Yeah.
They probably turned it off at the wrong time.
But a part of that budget and forecasting is tax planning as well, right? So tax planning and management during these times, if your business is not going to be doing so well in the next little while, you need to be re-looking at the amounts of tax that you are paying.
We've spent as much of our profits, being in a decade of business, as many of our profits as possible back into the business. I don't understand why people don't do it. I just can't get it through.
I'll tell you why, because it means we take out less.
Well, I get
And they
that,
take
but
it
it's
less.
like
well, that's normally it because poor planning, right? So
this is poor leadership. You're a leader of a
You put down
business
leadership.
and you're not growing. You're not
They're not
giving
seeing
these
the long
people
term.
anything.
Yeah.
How are they supposed to get another person to work with?
Well, you've got to leave something behind, I think, to reinvest in the business. And it can't be debt. You can't keep taking, this happens a lot, you keep taking out debt to reinvest in the business. I don't ever see a leader taking a pay cut, like normally. I don't know if you guys have, but
Startups.
because they're forced to, but like there's times where we've just gone, okay, we're not going to get paid. And the business continues. COVID's great thing. Like we took a cut. Team didn't take a cut. Like others, like we just
Other people got rid of people.
and then like a lot of accounting businesses, 80%. Like, the government said we can do that. Let's do that. That's not looking after your people.
Yeah.
So what is good leadership then? Maybe it's not listening to the outside world and making your own decisions.
Yes. Yep. There's too much of that, I think.
Yep.
In leaders in business, and they need to be more vulnerable. They need to be more open and just
To
talking to their accountants, their business colleagues, their partners. All of those people.
There's a lot of people in business in New Zealand, right? We have an incredible amount of small business in New Zealand. Most of those people aren't good business owners.
That's harsh.
It's a harsh
I'd agree
comment,
with that.
but it's true.
What do you think that is?
Yeah, what makes a good business owner though?
Well, because most people get into business to either make more money, have more flexibility,
To not work for the man.
not work for the man, get paid more for what they're good at. And then they find out in the second year that it's all too stressful. They got people to look after, their cash flow sucks, they've actually got less money, less flexibility, and being your own boss is actually worse.
Yeah. And I've told people, in the past that they shouldn't be running a business, and it was like a home truth.
Yeah.
And to say you probably are better being in paid employment, buddy.
Definitely.
And I think we have to be that person to tell, because who else is going to tell them?
Tell you,
Yeah, but maybe they went into business for the wrong reasons, right? A lot of people say, I want to be my own boss. I don't want to work 9 to 5. But some people just don't want to work.
So
And if you don't put in the effort and you don't want to work, most business owners work way more hours than employees.
I was just going to say, do you think you don't want to work 9 to 5? We'll try 5 to 9.
Yeah. 7 days a week.
It's different.
It's funny the mindset of what people think it's like in business until they get into business.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm going to go business easier.
I want to be my own boss.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Just do that. Get paid more, work less.
See you in 18 months.
And that's
That's not reality. Let's just be clear. Anyone wanting to start a business, you have to put in the time and effort and money, and everything's on the line. It's you.
Yeah.
If you got employees, you pay them before you pay yourself, mate. Like, you can't just not pay them. Like, so it's great. Like I always say, it's hard and it never gets easier.
Yeah.
just gets a little bit different
You
probably
get
over
better.
time.
It gets
Yeah, you
different.
get stronger.
But it's a
and
different
you
problem.
understand.
Like you get to 2 million, you got a whole lot on your problems. Go to
Yeah.
5 million, way more problems.
Mm.
You're at $1, you got
Yeah.
loads of problems. You know?
I mean, the problems we get now as a firm in BetterCo is probably the same problem we get 10 years ago when we first started,
Mm.
right? We're just better at, making decisions
yeah,
around that,
yeah.
and we're just a bit stronger. And,
Is being a business owner like over glorified in general?
It's a good question.
is it worth it?
Crickets.
Cut it here. Bang.
Yeah.
Would you go back to employment?
No, so I wouldn't.
Nah,
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think for the people that go out in business, it's normally on their own to start. So looking for partnerships early in the piece is probably a good idea.
Yeah. I mean,
Over glorified.
I often think that when, like, business owners generally, they get too wedded to the business, like the first business.
Mhm.
Sometimes the first business is where you learn everything and then you might sell it or dump it or move on, But people get too wedded to it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, my baby. It's like, well, it's not.
kinda like
you
your
can
first
actually
house,
give this
right?
baby away.
Yeah.
The big first step is when you take on your first employee, because you're taking care of someone else's life then.
Mhm.
So typically a startup, if you're a one-man band or one-woman band, that's you to start. But then as soon as you build up your business to be enough to, hold on, I'm taking the leap of faith now and I'm going to employ someone, that's when shit gets real.
That's scary.
Mm.
And you're talking like 55 grand at minimum wage these days.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about 55
Close to
grand.
it,
eh?
yeah.
Yeah.
Damn, it's a lot of money plus your lease.
And a lot of business owners at the start delay doing that because they think it's too hard. But I've seen businesses that are successful now, and that first employee that comes on board, it's the best thing that they ever did.
Yeah.
And then they'll quickly employ another one and another one, right? So they are growing.
And sometimes
So-
even
see
becoming
that-
business partners in the future, right?
That's the
Yep.
investment, though, right? So it's an investment at that point. You invest in a person. You can't. People think you have to rely just on your cash flow to make that higher,
Mm.
and it's not always the way. Like, yeah, of course, if you get your cash can sustain it, that's
Mm.
great. But if you need to say put in 25 grand of, like, say, working capital
Mm.
via an overdraft and pay 25 of that salary,
Mm.
so you half it out of cash flow, then like that's called growth, and
Yep.
you've done
Yes.
it sensibly.
Yes.
Rather than go, shit, I'm gonna have to just burn the candle, like lose sight of the strategy and have to find a way to pay this employee. Like, so I think, like it's just about being smart about it and finding that capital, because money is just the tool, right?
It's just
Yeah.
the fuel
It's
for
just
the car.
tool,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
And-
like,
Yeah.
shit, why don't we hire 2 people? Oh, okay, well, because if you hire 2 people, you might be able to grow faster, and you train them all at once.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, the common comment that negative business owners will give you is, oh, but if I have 2 of them, that's an extra problem. Now I got 2 problems,
Mm.
yeah, you have a problem, especially if you don't have systems and processes.
Yeah,
Like,
and
that
that's
is-
generally why New Zealanders in business delay their first hire.
Mm.
That come to us and they're like, oh yeah, but I don't have the systems and processes yet. So we're
Mm.
like, yeah, go and spend the time on your systems and
Mm.
processes and get
Definitely.
that right.
Yes.
But that's because that's what, everyone grows up and you hear about systems and processes. You don't really get into business and really have people in New Zealand who understand their vision
Mm.
well enough.
Mhm.
Like, they don't know where they want to be in 5 years or where they
Business-
want the
business
business
planning.
to be, right? And then they don't know their purpose.
Mm.
And then they don't really know what level of standard that they have. I reckon if someone knows where their standards are, if they have a high standard, they're going to expect the next person to have that standard. And then it becomes infectious
That's
Yeah.
captured in
Yeah.
your values.
and captured
Okay.
in your values, yeah.
Mm.
Like, then the next person will learn off the next person and they maintain that standard.
Sounds like a business plan, mate.
It is. It's a business planning session and strategy.
Yeah, some business owners don't know what their values are. It's just, I'm just here to serve my customers and
Hard
get paid.
work.
So what's on the front page of your business plan? Vision, purpose,
Yep.
what you want to
Values.
achieve,
Values.
high level budget, values.
Yeah.
5 things.
Mhm.
And maybe some areas of where you think you could grow.
Like a
and
basic
maybe some
SWOT.
maybe some areas where you think
Strengths,
are
weaknesses.
And we talk about leadership, and the proper leader in a business goes through that session, and they go through all of those things so that they can have a better business.
Mhm.
and unfortunately it's never done. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
You should need to revisit it, especially in times like this. You sit there and we've got clients at the moment who are evaluating is now a good time to diversify. Because I don't think diversification is a great thing personally. If you really want to make really, really good money, you need focus. You need to stay narrow. But diversification is good in certain times.
Different revenue streams. It can work, within their business. Don't sort of stray too far away from the norm. But it's worth considering for sure. Yep.
Yeah, like if you sell tires or wheels,
Mm.
maybe see if there's an exhaust business down the road. Like
Rebranded.
what can be attached.
To the customer, the existing customer.
Yeah.
Your customer's already there, sell them something else.
Yeah.
Give them or help them, basically. Selling is just helping.
Yeah.
So what should a leader of a business, firstly they need to think of themselves as the leader of the business, but what should a leader of a business, if they were having a beer or a social gathering or a wine with their team in next couple of weeks, what should they stand up there and say to their team? I
Well,
can do this
first-
tomorrow, so tell me.
I think firstly,
I'll tell
like
you what
teams
you
got to
normally do.
understand their purpose and values. I've seen so many business owners, and I ask them, "Does your employees understand your goal and your purpose in your business?" They're like, "Nah, I never sit down with them. They just come to work." Most of them even work from home permanently, so you never get to see them.
Yeah.
But if your employees understand your purpose and vision and values, they're on the same path and
Correct.
same goals that you are, and you can both work together and
Being
achieve it.
inclusive, is key. Yeah, for me, it's that inclusiveness. Including all of your team all of the time during these recessionary times. I think it's very important. Yeah, and I think we do it pretty well at BetterCo. Like we've got our catch up tomorrow, and we have regular catch ups with our team. But I think we just need to encourage the business owners that we act for to do the same thing, because I don't think they all do it well enough.
I think, I think you gotta involve your team. The thing I was thinking about is like the one thing that I think has changed a lot for our team is when we opened up our books, and it was like the scariest thing when you tell someone to go show them the P&L or at least the revenue lines and go, this is how much money we make and you help us make and how we grow. Like don't hide that. Like
That's
that,
a really
that
good
brings them
point.
into the journey, and they go, oh cool, well, my contribution is valued here, and actually, if this business is growing, then I can grow and I can do more things. And like people hoard or hide that. I think you got to be vulnerable.
But you know what's funny? Like these big firms, the listed companies, are forced to show their financials online and how much they pay their CEOs, right? But in small businesses, no, we can't show how much profit is. Hush. I think it's
I think it's just for some people, it could be embarrassing or they don't know. Like, and I have this conversation. I had this one this week actually, and it's like, actually, you should be really proud of your balance sheet because it's strong, and not many people have a strong balance sheet. But it's not until I say, "Oh, you should be proud of your balance sheet," and like genuinely say it, because I wouldn't just say it, and they go, "Oh, shit, I didn't realize." They don't know.
Yeah,
Strong balance sheet enables you to do all the things that people don't think about. Keep your staff, go to sleep at night without stressing out.
These people
Being
know
able to
it.
buy the next asset if you want to buy it. All those things that business, like the balance sheet doesn't mean shit to a business owner until you tell them that all the things you can do with because this balance sheet's good.
Oh, they don't understand, right? They're good at their trade. They're good at doing what they do. They don't understand the numbers, right? So they rely on us heavily to be like, P&L's good, balance sheet is great. Yeah, here's the thing. So
that's a really good point. And sharing that information with your team is powerful. And look, you don't have to show the detail either. It can be a high level summary of your performance, because we understand that there's, you don't want to show all of your cards to your team, but I think, I really like that. Yeah. But how many of our customers do you think do share it with their wider team?
Yeah, I think you got to sort of go through the steps, right? Like first get your business plan done, make sure you know where you're going so you can take them on their journey. Understand the values, then have the monthly meeting. If you're going to have a monthly meeting, then you start to introduce the P&L and, go the next step.
Start with the management
employee of
team
the
as
month,
well.
blah, blah, blah.
Not everybody, because sometimes it scares people.
Yeah.
You start with the people that have direct impact on it. Then go to the people who are actually generating it.
What do you do if like your numbers are going down though?
That's who you should be sharing it. We said it
That's
last
even
time.
better,
Because there's
right?
always going to
So
be
they
reasons why,
understand.
and as long as you can explain
You can
those
talk to it.
reasons, you can
Yeah,
talk to
yeah.
it. Yeah.
Like, we wouldn't know in our business exactly the reasons why a month might be slower than the others. But if we go and talk to everybody, they'll be like, oh, I was doing this. That's why.
No, they
I was
do.
doing that. Yeah, you'd get
Yeah.
12 reasons why, right?
Yeah. I suppose my point is that I don't think many businesses are sharing their numbers.
That's not a common thing. We're in New Zealand, tall poppy syndrome, all that bullshit.
yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Go live in America. It's like just throw
Shout
the
it from
financials
the
off the
rooftops.
rooftop.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Hey, look how much money I make. You know?
Seven-figure business.
Yeah, to be honest, no one should really care other than you about how much money you're making. Like,
Yeah.
who gives who gives a shit?
Mm.
Like, I don't care how much money people make. Like,
Mm.
are you happy? Are you living the life you want to live? Do you
Yeah.
have one life?
Yeah.
If you don't,
Do
One
time
life.
back with the
Beautiful
family.
thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think, in summary, I mean, we've talked about a lot, but I think this is the time for any business owner in New Zealand to actually be like, hey, I'm actually a leader, and I need to act like one, not just in the business, but at home and with my friends. I need to act like a leader here. And if there's negative commentary when you're having a beer or a wine with your mates, or you're at a 5-year-old's birthday party and people are talking about recession and all that. So during COVID, we said, stop talking about COVID. It's ridiculous. Like, talk about something else. Stop talking about the recession. Be a good leader. Be glass half full, I think is really important. Look at opportunities and talk to your team about, hey, we're actually in a good place. So what opportunities do you think we should take? Or, hey, we're not in a good place. These are our areas of threats that I think. Do you guys think they're the same threats? And how do you think we should deal with them?
Yep.
And then just go and smash it.
Yeah.
Like, glass half full. Just go and
Empower
Be a
your
killer.
teams. Empower them.
No, it's not the time to retract. Recession doesn't equal retract.
Yeah, and if you think you're not a good leader, there's so many tools out there, free tools
Yeah.
online, YouTube videos, TikTok to teach you how to be one. You just gotta make the effort to really learn. Yeah, stop talking about the rise of egg prices and fuel prices. You can easily go into a really bad spiral.
Yeah.
Yeah, as a leader.
Cool. It's a wrap.
That's a wrap.
Awesome.
Yeah, good.